Yes, we are live now.
Yes, all right.
Welcome to the Dutch Doctor Who channel. I'm an enigmatic joker, and next to me we have Sadeko. Hello, Sadeko.
Sadeko.
Yeah. I still spell it wrong.
No, most people
pronounce it wrong. Yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome. And today we have not yet another guest is coming, Queen, but we wait for her. And in the meanwhile, we have also some announcements.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should we do
because we have okay, this is the part 7, the personality of the 7th Doctor.
Yes.
And there is a whole series we started a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And there's also a playlist on my channel. You can look for that, and you can watch and listen to all the other previous Doctors from Hartnell till today. Sylvester McCoy. There's also an intro to this series. We discussed then each Doctor, each incarnation we discussed in short. And all the other streams are about maximum of 2 hours. And yeah, I have also a recommendation. We have the Dutch WHOVIAN community in the Netherlands. I have put some links on the info page of my channel, and you can see there the website, the Facebook group, the Discord server, and etc. etc. That's for the Dutch WHOVIANs under us. By the way, the live streams here are most of the time they are in English. Also, the regular live streams on Monday are in English. Maybe in the future I do a Dutch stream, but at the moment this is the most common.
Yeah.
So.
Hello, Christian in the chat. Hi.
Hello.
Legend of Travel Charges.
Yes. Is that what's his name?
Christian.
Yeah, Christian.
Yeah.
Hello, Christian. Yeah. I smell WHOVIANs. That is a catchphrase of him.
Yep.
Yeah, we are WHOVIANs and we are proud of it. Yes.
Yep.
So we like Doctor Who very long. And the reason because we started this series, we did a few weeks ago. We discussed all the Doctors, and I thought, hey, maybe we do every live stream one Doctor. Because you can talk about so much things about each incarnation. Every incarnation is unique. So we thought every week we do another Doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Daniel.
Hello, Daniel. Also, and we're waiting for Queen. Also,
yeah. That's true. I mean, there are, for instance, there are certain Doctors that would not do what McCoy's Doctor would do, for instance, and we're going to get into that a bit, aren't we? Because, so each, it's like the Doctor's kind of they're similar but different. It's like and it's an interesting idea that are they all the same man, or are they various kind of shifts of the personality of this changing being who's kind of each different life is unique, but he inherits the memories of the other cells, but the soul of him is it the same soul, or is it a different soul processing the personality of the predecessor he inherited?
Yeah. I think there are already in his DNA many personalities hidden.
Yeah. Yes.
That's what I think. And every Doctor is unique in that way that some things are more developed than other things in his DNA, in his.
Yes.
And what we all also discussed and we also noticed is that every regeneration is a result of, you can see some things in the next incarnation of the results of the regeneration you can see in the next Doctor.
Yeah.
So the ending of each regeneration is, and you can see then also the results of it in the next incarnation.
For instance, like in Logopolis, the Doctor falls from a great height. Castrovalva, we see David, like in the brief bit where Davidson's crawling up the rock face to Castrovalva. You see, he has actually got vertigo because of his last experience.
Yes, that's right. That's a very funny thing to see. By the way, the regeneration from the 6th Doctor, Colin Baker, to 7th Doctor was a little bit weird. And suddenly, because we see an attack, the TARDIS is moving, and we see Mel Bush, the companion.
Yeah.
And suddenly he changes into Sylvester McCoy. It's by the way, Sylvester McCoy is the only actor who played 2 incarnations, because he did the regeneration scene himself. He had a blonde hair.
Yep. Wig.
Wig. A blonde wig on him, and he changed into himself.
Yeah. It was like they did that kind of visual effect to try and obscure that it was his face, but like, and then
so little gray or white, was it in his face?
Yeah, it was like trying to imply that the regeneration process had already started before he was, or like the T-trap turned him over.
Yep.
And I think it's implied that it was supposed to be that the knock of the Rani's attack on the TARDIS caused him to.
Yes.
It was basically just a bump on the head caused him to regenerate, which is it's a lame way for Colin to go out of all the doctors. Like, that's.
I think it was the lead, for all the regenerations, most weird and the most and I didn't like this regeneration. It was a bit sudden and no further story before that.
Arbitrary, that's what it was.
It's arbitrary.
Yeah,
because we know already Pertwee and Tom Baker from Peter Davison.
Yep. Yeah, there was a story to why they went out, wasn't there? There was a kind of a lead in. There was a prophecy. There was the Doctor having to make a choice. Then the Nicole played into the story. And it was just a case of it was just they got out of the way as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and we saw it coming. Also.
Yeah.
Okay, we discussed it on the service a little bit about his personality and also the story in a summary about what his story is, what his adventures are.
Yeah, because as Daniel points out, he did go through quite a growth over the seasons.
Yes,
he starts clownish, and then by the end he's borderline sinister, as he says, and he was. He can be quite capricious in the way he tricked Ace.
Yeah, and then that's a good summary. I also can see that development, more humorous and then what more dark. I think it was also. I think because also of other writers. I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why he became more dark during his era.
Yeah, it does feel like with Tam the Rani, it feels like it was kind of that was a Pip and Jane Baker story. So that was the last story to be written by the previous team. So that was so they basically wrote him kind of as Colin's Doctor, clownish, brash, but with little tweaks, the little kind of hints. Like, because they knew this Doctor had to be different, so they gave him certain traits, and the traits were they gave him kind of this quality of malapropisms, where he'd say a certain familiar saying, but he kind of reword it, almost kind of absent-mindedly so. And so he was kind of supposed to kind of make him distinct from Colin, but Andrew Cartmel, I think he didn't like that script. He was like, "Look, I don't want to work with Pip and Jane Baker again. Let's just do it, and then do something different with him as quickly as possible."
Yeah.
And he wanted to build the Doctor up to something, because he said like several times that he felt like the Doctor kind of lost his mystique. He'd lost his heroic quality. I talked about this a bit on the streams myself. I felt like that there was something lacking to Davis, and there was something lacking to Colin in the way they were written. They weren't really written that heroically, and I think Cartmel felt this too. And Cartmel was a big reader of Watchmen, comics like Watchmen and V for Vendetta, which were doing some quite dark stuff. And he had these kind of quite Machiavellian heroes who were kind of quite shady, but Machiavellian. They had big plans, and he was like, "That's what I want the Doctor to be like. I want the Doctor to have that kind of scheming quality."
Yes, that's exactly the word Machiavellian, because
Yes.
they had some manipulative and how do you call it, misleading.
He was a bit of a trickster. That was it.
Trickster. Yes,
Yeah.
and then also but tactfully.
Yeah.
It's a bit with tact. It was a really strategic.
Yeah.
I referred earlier on this doctor because there are more doctors who are strategic, but this is the most strategic doctor of all, I think.
Hi, Cam.
But like a somber genius.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Cam.
Hello, Cam.
Sorry to hear about your accident. That sounds awful. Yeah, he had a car accident. So he's going to be a bit. But I think it's going to restrict his ability to type. So you'll be listening, but he won't be commenting much.
Oh no. That's a good thing. We have.
Yeah. When we interviewed Come On Show, he wanted to be back to that name, Doctor Who, to be the hero, to ride in like the Lone Ranger. Then when he was left, people ask who he was. There's a reason why it's called Doctor Who, and he has to remain aloof, because if you give too much away, then it's no longer Doctor Who.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's because the show is called Doctor Who, because there must be some mysterious about this enigmatic, by the way.
Yeah.
Use my some enigmatic and mysterious about this, and that's so the reason. That's the whole concept of the show, by the way. You must not give away too much about the character of the Doctor. You can explain some things, but there must the most of the time there must be some things unexplained. Not in that way that that the people don't understand, but you must do some mysterious things with this Doctor. Always.
Yeah, if you explain too much, you spoon feed too much. There's nothing to ponder. There's nothing to I guess at.
Yeah, also in it. Yeah. But he's a little bit eccentric.
Yeah,
a lighthearted buffoon. And the Seventh Doctor, what Daniel also mentioned, is Seventh Doctor darkened into a mysterious, cunning manipulator to combat Fenric's return. You can see the curse of Fenric.
Yes.
Though he delighted in the humorous reverie, it was only the surface layer of his true nature, and beneath he was a Machiavellian, so like you said, and a somber genius of frightful caliber, who tactfully used his mind to manipulate almost any situation and into reaching his favorite outcome. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because he's there's a particular scene in Battlefield where he it's hinted he's got this quite hypnotic or telepathic ability, because there's this scene where the unit are basically saying, look, we've got to evacuate the area, and some of the locals are like, we don't want to be moved, we're staying. And the Doctor kind of intervenes. He goes, look, you're very angry, aren't you? Yes. And you want to leave, don't you? It's like, of course we don't want to leave. It's like, yes, you do want to leave. And like, he just gives them a look, and then suddenly, I mean, it's like, yes, we're angry and we want to leave. And it's like,
he put the words in his mouth.
Yeah, it's almost like a Jedi mind trick. It's like, these aren't the unit soldiers you're looking for.
Yeah, but it was really a characteristic of this Doctor, that he was so filling in for people, and he directed the actions of his opponents in some way. Suggestive. Yeah, suggestive. Yeah, that was really a power trait of this Doctor, power thing. That he used in many situations. You can already see that in the first story, in Time of the Rani. You can see that already. And then it became more dark during this era of this Doctor.
Shall we talk about Time of the Rani then?
Yeah, this is good. Yeah. Oh.
Hello, Queen Charlotte. Hello.
Hello. So I had a late tea, and I needed to have a shower. So...
Okay.
What would you have for tea? It was nice.
Chicken curry. So it was quite nice.
Nice.
So it wasn't a quick tea as well.
Okay. Yeah, we were just about to get into our favourite McCoy story, Time of the Rani.
See, I've not got around to watching that yet. Like, this is the era where there's some real amazing. There's some, this is the era where all the I've watched some of the famous bad ones. I've not watched them all.
Yeah, Time in the Ramley is the first appearance of this Doctor, and we see also the nemesis or the villain, the Rani.
The Rani, yeah. She's a renegade Time Lord. She's similar to she's this amoral geneticist, isn't she? She she left Gallifrey to do her own experiments. So basically, she's just a bit of a female Davros, isn't she? She just kind of experiments with other life forms.
Yeah, I want her back in New Who. I want her back.
I'm sort of amazed they haven't done her yet.
Yeah. I'm amazed. Also amazed. And the monk.
Well, another reason why I'm a bit amazed is, from what I can understand, she wouldn't be a hard character to do. I know some of the big Time Lord characters, there's rights issues, isn't there? That the BBC technically don't own them. Whereas from what I can understand, the Rani hasn't got that issue, so I'm a bit amazed they haven't done her yet.
Yeah. I mean, I believe, didn't, when they were doing Dark Order Death in Heaven, didn't Moffat actually film a dummy revelation for Missy, where it turned out she was actually going to be the Rani?
Yeah, but but I don't think he was ever going to go through with that. Because didn't he say in an interview, he was on, maybe I've got this wrong, but I'm sure I've heard an interview or seen people talk about this in an interview where Moffat was very offhanded, sort of said, well, nobody knows who the Rani is. And that was his excuse, really, not to have Missy be the Rani.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shame, which really. I just think that's a really bad excuse. Like, it doesn't matter if nobody knows who she is. Actually, that would be more of a reason to do it. Because then you could do your own version. Like, you wouldn't have to harken back so much to the original if you see that original incarnation or version as something people don't really love and care about.
Yeah.
You could really just go, well, I'm going to completely do my own version of the Rani. I'm going to do what I want, do you know?
Yeah.
Whereas if you're doing a master, it's always going to be compared back to the classic era masters.
Yeah.
If you ever do any other big Time Lord characters, like an Omega, for example, or something like that, or Rassilon, or those sort of names, they're always going to be compared to their classic counterparts because they were such a big presence in the classic era.
Yeah. So now you mean like there's more freedom with the Rani because
I would argue there's more freedom. That's why I think it would be fascinating at any point for whether we know. That's why I to be fair, I think I'd be interested to see Russell, for example, if he has a go at it.
Mm-hmm.
I think he would be interesting to have a go at the Rani, actually, to write for her.
Good thing.
Yep. But we discussed already that this Doctor is tactfully uses his mind to manipulate almost any situation into reaching his favorite outcome. We already discussed that. We referred in last week's streams also to this Doctor because of this strategic and his tactfully use his mind.
What's your take on that, Charlotte? Because you've seen a bit of McCoy.
Yeah, no, I almost refer to McCoy as if Loki was the Doctor. Do you know? That sort of manipulative trickster sort of personality. I know to begin with he was a bit more comedy and a bit more goofy and a bit more slapsticky, but I think from that second series of his, it's like it is completely, you see that manipulator. You see this is the Doctor that I think would cross certain lines that other Doctors wouldn't to get what he wants at the end of the day. And that's why like I said, I quite like Sylvester when it comes to his later stuff. Because it is interesting to see a character which for so long had been such a paragon of good to sort of have that darkness and to sort of revel in it almost in moments. Like sometimes with certain enemies, it's like he almost revels in defeating them in a almost an undoctor-like fashion.
Yeah.
And I just think because that's why, which is weird because I usually don't like doctors when they go dark, but I think McCoy's how you do it. If you want to go dark, you need to be not sort of dark when it comes to not caring about life or sort of other people around you. For no, how do I word this better? It's with McCoy, you could tell what all his actions, even if he was sort of being manipulative or disregarding things around him, it was all part of his plan.
Yeah.
It was all because he's thinking so many steps ahead. Whereas when they try and do it after him, you don't get the sense. You just get the sense, like for example, with Peter Capaldi and a certain other female doctor, that they just don't care. It's not. They just utterly don't care about life and the sort of saving people. Whereas McCoy, it's like he doesn't care at moments, but that's because he's factored in. Well, if they have to be a sacrifice, so I can get my outcome I want at the end of this.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does every action he does for the greater good.
Yes.
Yeah, it's almost I compare him to Loki, but almost a bit of Sherlock Holmes chucked in as well. With the sort of
also, yeah,
I should say like that because I quite like the beginning of Sherlock when it was on telly. And there's a scene where basically Watson questions him and says, "Why don't you care about like these people dying?" And Holmes says, "Is that going to help me solve the case quicker?"
Yeah.
And he's not like, and usually you'd think, God, he's being a rude so and so, but he's actually got a point.
Yeah.
He's like, well, no, if I stop to get emotional, my brain can't work the usual pace and speed it needs to solve the crime.
Yeah.
So almost, I think McCoy has a bit of that sort of mentality at times.
Yes.
I like that scene when McCoy is walking away from the circus tent of the Greatest Galaxy.
The Greatest Show of the Galaxy, yeah.
Yeah, and he walks quietly away with his umbrella, and you see boom in the background.
Yeah, you know when they did that, they took that take if you watch it, like McCoy's like just seems really nonchalant, he's just kind of confident, you know,
like nonchalance,
completely unfazed by the explosion. But he says he says after, you know what, I thought that maybe they'd blown me sky high. It's like, you know, I thought it was half singed under the back or something. Yeah.
So, but there is also a profound warmth and affection to his companions, but against his villains, he's reckless. He's how do you call it? Yes.
Well, they had the two companions on screen, didn't he? It was Ace and Mel. Yeah.
For a short time, Melanie, and the combination with Ace was very good, I think.
Yeah, I think with Ace, that's when it was a proper mentorship for the first time.
Yeah, by the way, one of my favorite female companions is Ace. She's high in the ranking for me. So
yeah, also, I think Ace, she was so different, wasn't she?
Yeah.
From everything that come before, and it almost felt like, I know a lot, it's probably been oversaid at this point, but she really was the prototype with what modern Who was going to do with their companions. Yeah. It was like she was the start of that, and you could see it with how certain stories, it was her story. It wasn't the Doctor being the center point, like Ghostlight and like what's the one when they all turned Survival, and like some of the stuff near the end of the run, she was getting a lot of the storylines.
Yes.
Ooh, there's one disagreeing.
Oh yeah, it's because it's like was he as heartless as he pretended to be, or was there a kind of beneath that he actually felt something, but he was like he knew what he had to do, but it still hurt him to do it, kind of thing.
Yeah, to be fair, then I'll amend it. With Ace, that was the exception.
Yeah.
With pretty much anybody else, I think what I said, that sort of almost Sherlock detachment sort of way to see things is how he saw things. But obviously, yeah, with Ace, you could see because of the connection they built, because of how much he did grow to care for her. That is one of the few times you can see him actually struggle to sort of to have that manipulative energy.
Yeah.
Because it is with somebody he actually really cares about.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yes. After several adventures with the Seventh Doctor, Melanie Bush. Melanie Bush. After several adventures with the Doctor, she left to travel with Sablon Glitz. We also see Sablon Glitz in this story. Yeah. He had recently met the Sixth Doctor.
That's Dragonfire. Have you seen Dragonfire, Charlotte?
No, I think, to be fair, I think it's that first series. That first, I've seen some of the terrible ones like Delta.
Okay, yeah, that was bad.
But I haven't seen all of McCoy's first series yet.
Okay.
So, and then we see also the introduction of Ace, the troubled teenager from Earth in the 1980s.
Oh, Daniel had a comment about that earlier about because both Dragonfire and Curse of Fenric were written by Ian Briggs. Like it was the same author wrote both of them, and yes, it says it's really further up.
This comment.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, it almost feels like Ian Briggs, who wrote Dragonfire and Curse of Fenric, wrote Ace in Dragonfire the way he did, almost like he already knew he was coming back to write Fenric.
Yeah, because the funny thing is, both Dragonfire and Delta and the Bannermen were kind of audition pieces for the potential next companion. So Dragonfire, if Dragonfire had kind of worked out, if Delta and the Bannermen had worked out, then maybe Ray would have become the new companion rather than Ace. And so Dragonfire was kind of a trial run for Ace. And I imagine if they chosen otherwise, they might have had Ace leave with Sablon Glitz and Mel just carry on, and then they do Delta and Bannerman, and that would be where Ray becomes companion. But they went with Ace, and as it happens, Ian Briggs developed Ace from there, and he kind of wrote one of the most prominent stories in Curse of Fenric.
Yeah, and what we see in this that the Seventh Doctor did his best to help heal Ace's psychological wounds, because he's really hurt psychologically.
Yeah,
and
should we get into that then? Because there is quite a lot of backstory to Ace, isn't there?
Yeah.
Because the main part of her backstory is that she had a very, very difficult relationship with her mother. I mean, it's never quite said why, but in Curse of Fenric, she's introduced to a relation to, well, a baby version of her mother, and it's a baby who's like bears her mother's name, and like she says, "I hate that name. It's my mum's name," and you're thinking you're never quite sure what happened, but it's a really, really, really it looks like something really acrimonious happened between Ace and her mother. Another prominent thing is she had a friend called was it Misha? It was
I can't remember now. There was a friend, wasn't there?
Yeah, she was attacked by racist thugs. She'd been kind of firebombed by skinheads, and I think she acted out. She burnt a particular house down that was in Perivale, and then she was arrested, and that just made her trauma worse. She just started acting out even more and more. So she became suddenly obsessed with she became a bit of a pyromaniac, didn't she? She does like her.
Oh yeah, she loved to blow stuff up. Did I?
Yeah. And the thing is, that plays into two moments in season 26. It's Curse of Fenric, where she has to reckon with a difficult relationship with her mother and with her family lineage. And in Ghostlight, the Doctor actually takes her back to the Victorian era, into the house that she burnt down before it was burnt down. And he says, well, what was it about this house that you hated so much? And she said, I just got this instinct there was something evil there. And they investigate and realize there actually was an echo of something alien. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's almost hinting at her having extra like abilities, isn't it? By being able to sense that before she even met the Doctor and even knew about the universe.
Yeah, that could be it. I mean, when I watched it, I just thought maybe there was the psychic impression of the aliens was so strong that she felt it, but maybe.
Well, I'm just thinking of if we sort of think what the Doctor's long-term plan for her was, to me it would make sense as to almost him maybe picking up that Ace sense this presence as just a normal human being.
You mean like she's a bit of an empath? Possibly.
Yeah, or there's just something a bit different. She's got that extra something about her that she could sense it.
Yeah.
And that's why he sort of mentored her and wanted, if we now know what would have happened, she would have become a Time Lord. That was the overall plan, but they got cancelled basically before they could do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, but there is also an abrupt ending in the whole era of this Doctor. So there are much things unexplained, and that's the reason because they stopped abrupt with the show.
Didn't the same thing happen like with
there was a plan for indeed there was a plan. Cartmel had also plans for this. We know that the Cartmel had master plan or something.
Yeah.
There were some direction he wanted to go with the Doctor, and it is not worked out. And the show was stopped in 1989. 1989, yeah. So there were things unexplained. We don't really know when Ace left the Doctor, because when we see the movie in 1996, she isn't there anymore. So, but we have also much audio adventures of this Doctor, and I don't know. Is there an explanation of her departure?
Oh God, there probably is in Big Finish, but I've not.
Daniel's the one with the big.
Yeah, Daniel, can you tell us, mate? You're usually.
What's the fate? What's the fate of
Right. All I can tell you. Right. When I was, I did read. Well, I didn't read the New Adventures. I read one of the New Adventures. Yeah. Actually, like it was. I was about 11 when they were coming out, and like they were for a much like more adult audience. You looked at the back blurb of the synopsis. It's like Ace has left. She's come back. She's left. And so it's like they had like a lot of kind of false departures in those books, and I think that's because like they didn't really, they could never quite find a replacement for Ace, because like they'd already had a kind of a like they felt, okay, well, Ace is like the most developed companion we've had, and she's kind of so iconically part of that dynamic with McCoy. Then I think they kind of thought, well, yeah, we could write her out, because they did do one. Paul Cornell wrote a story called Love and War, in which the Doctor plays this manipulative game. He makes a sacrifice, and Ace does not forgive, and she says, "I'm done with you. I'm leaving." And then he travels with this archaeologist called Bernice for a while, who's and she's kind of meant to be the new Ace, and then
Bernice Summerfield. Do you call
Bernice Summerfield? Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So she comes back various times in the books. And I think in the audio she's still traveling with the Doctor. And I think it's with
I'm trying to just think of like pictures. I've not listened to them, but like the pictures, the cover art, and she's in quite a lot of the McCoy ones. So yeah, I've got a feeling maybe in Big Finish they haven't given her an official exit yet.
No, I think what they've done is they've kind of like they've taken on the idea that she's kind of older, and they've got a new companion called Hex, who's a Scouser, like he's from Liverpool, and he's basically the new novice to this. So she's almost taking on the mentoring role to him, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, that would make sense actually.
Yeah, but no, I mean we don't know quite. I mean, I think I would take it that the Doctor's kind of worked through a lot of her issues, and maybe at some point, because he's done that, she says, "You know what? I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to just have return to I don't need to run away from my problems anymore. I can return to Earth. And I think I get the impression that's probably what happened.
And about the theory about that's her becoming a Time Lord.
Well, that's the book that Sophie Aldred wrote.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if
that is not
the one who's
that's not
written
canon, or that's not. Is it? That's
Oh,
not canon.
I don't think it's officially. But then I
No.
say this, it's got bleeding Jodie Whittaker's Doctor in it at some point.
Oh.
So maybe it is canon. I don't know.
Well, I mean, even Dr. V. Scratchman has Jodie in it at some point.
Yeah, but I think Jodie's Doctor has actually got quite a big part in that book.
Yeah. But about the departure for Gallifrey, that the part where she was supposed to join the Academy, I think the audios, like they did like a season of audios that were supposed to basically adaptations of the script we would have got if season 27 got ahead. And I think for that story, I've forgotten what the title was, but they wrote it in such a way that eventually she recants and she ends up back in the Doctor's company. So it's like they had the cake and ate it basically.
Yeah, it's like you said, because she's so iconic with Sylvester at this point. It's like they're almost, and I'm just saying this as that sort of iconic of she's with her Doctor. It's almost a bit like Tom and Sarah, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like when you think of Tom Baker, you think of Sarah Jane.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I think with McCoy's Doctor, you think of Ace. It's just sort of that sort of like relationship at that point.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh. Yeah. Okay, we can we dive deeper into the personality of his Doctor. Okay. The Seventh Doctor was originally light-hearted and prone to clownish behavior. In the beginning, we see a little bit of clown in him in Time of Tyranny, in Paradise Towers, Great Show in the Galaxy. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was just going to say there are bits in Time of the Ronnie where he has mood swings. Like when he realizes he's been tricked by the Ronnie, he gets profoundly depressed, mm-hmm. which is quite it's like it was and I think after that I kind of decides I'm going to compensate kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was a bit
It's
like almost like they were hinting at the Piero thing, the Tears of a Clown kind of thing. Or at least Pip and Jane.
But this clownish behavior is a little bit his true intellect and courage. Mm-hmm. We see it also in other Doctors who use this tactic, a little bit clownish, but it's with a plan.
Yeah.
It's tricky to trick his enemies.
Yeah, so Daniel's got an answer for us. She does join Gallifrey in the end.
She works for the High Council, so she becomes a Time Lord, or
no,
is she
just works for the High Council?
Just
she
works.
Doesn't have to be a Time Lord for that.
Time agent. Mm-hmm. Maybe the Division.
Oh God.
Okay, not into that.
We'll save that for another stream.
I've made yesterday. I made a live stream and I explained a little bit about the Division. You can watch that.
Okay.
It's about an hour. It was a monologue.
Yeah.
But I tried to explain what the Division is, but it's sideways. We discussed that now. But this is a little bit commercial.
A bit of promotion of your other stream. It's never going.
Yeah,
it's always a good thing to promote yourself, Joker.
Like and subscribe. I don't say that often. Like and subscribe because I think people will automatically do that. But I think I must mention it all sometimes.
I can be quite stubborn with my likes. I want to be sure I enjoyed the stream first before I
like and subscribe, and then I see the thumbs up, 6, 7. No, yep. I see not counting. what we also all have mentioned is how that he matured and he became a grumpy, melancholy manipulator who saw the battle between good and evil as a game of chess or stage play. And everyone around him as pawns in the game of fighting evil that he directed. We see that in Remembrance of the Daleks, one of the Dalek stories of this doctor, Sylvan Nemesis, and the Curse of Fenric.
I think like Remembrance for me is quite clever because it's like it's an anti-war story in a way because it's like you've got the Daleks and both sets of Daleks fighting each other for this lethal artifact that they think is going to give them all the power they want. And they get it, and it's a trap. It's basically it's set to sabotage them all, and it's like it's kind of the power-seeking thing backfires on them, which is quite cool. And it's a better way of doing an anti-war story than say, well, you know, a certain story we discussed 2 streams ago, or indeed a certain story that aired last night.
Yeah, but and also it makes sense if you want to do an anti-war. I think that story is also trying to say a lot of the time when the thing that two sides are fighting over, they'll see it as this holy grail, this sort of thing that's going to save them, but it's actually not any. Like, if you think about like the wars in history, and when you actually think, what were they actually fighting over? You sort of think, God, that was stupid. Do you know?
Yeah.
And I think it's sort of that, isn't it, in Remembrance?
It's
a little bit of that.
Yeah, it's like that scene in Blackadder when the general walks in and like they've got this kind of a mound of land. It's like this is the mound of land we've recaptured. Like and it's like what scale is it? It's like 1 to 1.
Yeah, and that's obviously with Remembrance, it's a bit more of a darker sort of way to tell that story, but it is sort of, like I said, almost making a mockery of that's what war boils down to a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And also noticed by this doctor that he sees himself as a chess master. He's a consummate fan of chess, to the point of threading his companions and enemies as pieces on a chessboard. We see that in Curse of Fenric. And until he tired of the game in favor of...
Well, see, the chess game is supposed to be kind of symbolic. It's like somehow the game itself is what can entrap Fenric, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so it's like it's literally like this chess game is crucial.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing. Like McCoy, if you want to think about how doctors dealt with their enemies, McCoy's doctor would a lot of the time like play off his enemies' egos.
Yes.
And sort of use that as his weapon against them. Like some doctors would be a bit more brute forcey. Some would be a lot more in sort of wanting to use their science or their like innovation against an enemy. Whereas McCoy, that it seems to be he sort of zeroes on either their ego or their pride, and sort of make sure all his moves and what he's doing like inflames it to a point where they make their own mistakes.
It's like this doctor's kind of thought about the famous virus discussion with the Fourth Doctor and Davros, and like the doctor's kind of when the doctor saw Davros say yes I would do it, he's horrified, but it feels like McCoy has learned, wait a minute, I can use that against Davros. I know how far he'll go. If I can push him to go that far, he'll like sow his own destruction.
Yeah, I think he did that a lot with like the Daleks and Davros and other enemies in his run.
Yes.
Despite his tendency toward the dark personality, the Doctor was known for his use of words to resolve problems instead of violence. We see that in Dragonfire and Remembrance of the Daleks, Silver Nemesis, Battlefield, Ghostlight, Survival. So to say, I was a little bit. You can say magic with his words. You can. His strength was his words. His use of words.
Yeah, he was a wordsmith, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a wordsmith. So that was one of his weapons in a strong way in comparison to other doctors.
But Charlotte, have you seen Battlefield?
Yeah,
I really like him in Battlefield.
Battlefield, yes.
It does the Merlin thing makes sense.
Yes.
This is one of the few times when actually giving the Doctor this extra title doesn't feel silly or doesn't feel over the top. And I like it how in Battlefield they don't explicitly say he's Merlin.
Yeah.
They just hint throughout the whole thing with obviously the knight reacting the way he does when he sees him, to him like knowing how to get into the ship.
Yeah.
And even when Ata's like, oh, so that means it is true then, you're Merlin. Like, I can't remember that line she says.
I was like,
and McCoy does...
He says, it's like, she says, are you Merlin? He goes, no, but I could be in the future, in my personal future, which could be the past.
Yeah, and that's how you need to do it. You can never nail down, I think, the Doctor's past. It needs to be murky. And that's what Cartmel understood. Even, like I said, even with Battlefield, where you could argue, well, he's rewriting the Doctor's history. He's saying he's this figure, and it's like, no, he's not. Actually, watch the story.
Yeah,
he's just. You could say it's just coincidence that it just matches that he matches this figure that was known as Merlin.
Oh, a little bit of an in-joke. In the novelization, have you noticed, like, this recurring meme in the new series where every time the Doctor regenerates is like, am I ginger yet? Am I ginger yet?
Yeah.
Well, that's because in the novelization of Battlefield, it actually hints that this future Doctor is meant to be ginger.
Okay.
See, I thought that was just a weird thing Russell did.
Yeah.
Just as like a joke, but it's actually okay. I didn't know it actually came from something.
Yeah.
Influenced by his predecessor's decision to let his morality and scruples die with him in his final moments, the Seventh Doctor actively sought out villains to vanquish and dictatorships to dethrone, as opposed to his previous incarnations who would stumble upon trouble by happenstance.
Yes.
For example, by the Dalek story already and the Happiness Patrol. And getting involved in local affairs without question. He was much less forgiving than his preceding incarnation.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, damn, it's gone now. Sorry, I had a thought then. It was you mentioned the thing about he's more proactive about fighting his enemies. I think that the main impetus for that was the fact that the series was ending soon.
Mm-hmm.
I think the thought was there were two things. First of all, there was a thought that well, look, if the show's going to end soon, the Doctor has to finally settle his old scores. He has to vanquish the Daleks. He has to vanquish the Cybermen and the Master. So, like, if they're ended, then the show's ended because the show is coming to its end. They feel. And another thing is, I did because Andrew Cartmel did do a lot of reviewing of older stories, and he said that he like I said, he was quite critical of the previous era, and he said like he's written a kind of a review on Vengeance of Varus, which he says this is what I hated about this story and what stuck out to him. Have you seen Vengeance of Varus, Charlotte?
No, but I know its reputation.
Right. Well, basically the thing is that it's this mining planet, but it's also a basically it's this mining prison planet where the miners have the prisoners and captors have kind of had descendants, and they still maintain this brutal system, and there's still this kind of mining company, and because it's a poor economy, they've had to sell these really kind of sordid products. So basically they're selling kind of torture videos.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've heard people say it's almost like preempting reality TV before it happened.
Yeah, and the thing is, the reason the Doctor goes there is because the TARDIS breaks down, and he needs a new supply of Zyton-7, and only this planet provides it. And Cartmel wrote that he hated the way that was just drawn out, the breakdown, and he said it would have made more sense for the Doctor to say, This is a vile regime. I'm going to go there specifically to overthrow it. I'm not going to just go there by accident. And I think that's kind of what he wanted to do. He wanted to make the Doctor more kind of seeking out trouble and saying, "Look, I'm going to overthrow this. I'm going to change this. This is wrong. I'm going to make a difference."
Yeah, actually, that would make sense, because the Doctor, sometimes you do almost think that as a fan, don't you? It's like when they offhandedly say, "Oh yeah, I knew this ruler was here, or I knew this was going on," and they only happen to stop it or do anything if there's personal stakes involved.
Yeah.
Like, oh, a companion's trapped there, or I have to, like that sort of thing, and you sort of just go, "You knew this was happening, like." And you got a time machine, and you don't care about rules when it suits you. So why haven't you actually gone and changed this?
Yeah, and I sometimes think that too. I mean, I always kind of try and put it that, well, maybe the Doctor planned to do that later, and I think maybe that was Carmel's thought, and he thought, well, look, this is the incarnation where he's deciding, I'm going to get round to it now. I'm going to actually do it now, kind of thing.
Can you say that there is some, you call it scrapping or rushing in some stories, the unexplained?
Sorry?
We call it rushing or scrapping. Because I also earlier I said some things are unexplained and are you see that things must they must end some things and they do it not so really good.
Oh, you mean like there wasn't quite the finale? You mean like, say?
Yeah, it was suddenly there was the end of this era.
Oh, an abrupt end, you mean?
Yeah,
I kind of feel that way a bit as well. Like when I
there was an open ending, and more an open ending.
Yeah, because when I watched Survival, I must say I did think this fight between the Doctor and Master, it feels like it ends quite abruptly, and you're thinking,
that
was a bit, yeah. I mean, I think apparently in the original script there was supposed to be a scene where during the fight, they teleport back to Earth, and then the Doctor reveals something about himself, something really dark, and the Master actually flees in terror. He says, "I didn't know this about him. I didn't know what I was dealing with," or something. And I think one of them, either John Nathan Turner, said, "Oh no, that's revealing too much. We'll just end it the way they did,"
Yeah, but I think, to be fair, there's quite a few Master stories that's not even in this era where it sort of, you at the end you go, well, that was a quick way to defeat him.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. That's what I meant by rushing, or like no, exactly the words for it.
Abrupt.
Yeah, abrupt. I think that's the best word.
Not really good work out of it. Yeah.
Or sometimes you feel like there's been a lot of toing and froing and running about, and then in like 5 minutes the Master's defeated.
Yeah, they want to explain in 5 minutes what you have. You need half an hour for that, but they use 5 minutes. That's what I meant. Yeah. So it's not really good working out. The whole the stories is a little bit rushed, a little bit unexplained.
I mean, even Sophie Aldred said that. He said like a script would come in, it would be quite weighty, and she'd say,
"Yes,
I know that like a good chunk of that is not even going to make it to the final cut because they're going to the rush to try and trim it down to a sizable to a length, and then she just felt that it's not quite what it could have been if they'd kept all the material in to explain everything."
I also noticed one thing on this Doctor in particular, and that it was a Doctor that showed his feeling not so much feelings as other Doctors in previous incarnations. He was a little bit flat. Not really, but can you imagine what I mean? What?
I'd say he was quite stoic, maybe.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, because I think that's why moments when you did see those emotions, they stand out, like in Battlefield, when he's like about to kill Mordred.
Yeah.
And you could like that's almost shocking because he's literally like about to throttle him.
Yeah.
And like it's and you can see McCoy's acting this scene brilliantly, and you can just see the anger because he thinks Ace is dead.
Yeah.
And he's just, you could just see that was his breaking point. He was like, well, you killed Ace, so I'm going to just kill you. And so it was quite shocking, and so that's why those moments stood out with this Doctor. There's probably some more, but that's just the one that comes to my mind in Battlefield.
Yes.
But much things about this Doctor are explained in audio. So we on screen we see not so many things, but most of the things are explained in Big Finish audio of him, because there's a time between survival and the movie.
Yes.
Oh yeah, there's a big old time.
Yeah, and what we see that he when he is retired in some way, he distanced himself from his tactics of manipulation and things. He's a little bit enjoying himself. Instead of all the time manipulating. You can see that also in the movie in some cases. He sits in his chair and he's relaxing. You can see some more relaxed version of this Doctor, while in previous in classic you see that relaxation. You see not that relaxed Doctor.
More manic. He's more manic, isn't he?
Yeah, he's changed a bit.
In the audios, there's an audio called Master, in which he basically visits the Master, and it's like he's there's a hint there that he's tired of being the ruthless Death Master, and he just wants he wants to try a different tact. He wants to kind of try the more forgiving route, and it's similar in probably the best audios I've heard of him was this thing called the Client Trilogy. It was this trilogy of stories where he basically there's a parallel universe created when Ace leaves they land in Colditz in this story called Colditz, and Ace leaves a kind of a CD player behind. Nazis study it, they gain from the technology, and that changes the outcome of World War II. And later that means that they encounter this woman called Elizabeth Klein, who grew up in an area where the Nazis ruled Britain, and he basically puts time right and she's left without a home, and so he kind of takes her on board and says, "Well, look, I'll show you our ways. How about we travel together, and I'll try and, in a way, redeem her." And because he has basically she's never really known any other of life or philosophy, so he's kind of trying to show her his, and that's the kind of the point. He's being more forgiving. He's being more second chance. Although he does have to do something quite ruthless at the end, which is quite effective, because she does the dirty on him. Well, they both do the dirty on each other, and she as a result, she kind of she ends up almost bringing she brings chaos to time, basically, and he has to put it right by very ruthless means.
Oh yeah, because like in Survival, considering that's the only time this Doctor sees the Master, you can just feel the hatred. I remember when I was watching it for the first time, and any scene with him and Delgado in, you could just not Delgado, sorry, Amy.
Amy, yeah.
Well, I'm probably saying that because Amy was a bit more like Delgado in it. But yeah, you could just from Sylvester's end, you could just feel that and I think I commented on the stream when we were doing the watch along. I was like, this Doctor has gone back to almost square one with the Master at this point. There's no camaraderie. There's no you used to be an old friend sort of feeling that previous incarnations had with the Master. It's completely like you're my enemy. You've done so many despicable things. I need to stop you. There's no, like I said, no friend. Even like I said, I wouldn't even call it friendship before. But like I said, that sense of you're one of my own, or we did have that friendship once upon a time. Can I get back to that? He's like, no. Yes. I need to just almost like take you out and stop you.
Yeah. I feel like we should have had that kind of thing sooner. I feel in the 80s. Or it would have been nice.
I do think it would have been interesting to have Amy in a few stories. have that version of Ainley, especially where a lot of the campness of him had been stripped away, and he was a lot more calculating, a lot more sort of, like I said, Delgado-esque. I think it would have been fascinating to see him in like maybe just one more story before Survival.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Daniel says, "Love College, Charlotte. You're in for a treat."
Yeah.
Oh, it's when I have time now, Daniel. I still haven't watched My Evil of the Daleks yet.
Oh, did you get it for your birthday?
Yes, so I need to watch. I'm going to try it this weekend, but time is fun when I have it.
What's his TARDIS?
Time and timeless waits for no man.
I know. God, I would so want. My life would be so much easier right now if I had a TARDIS.
No storage problems.
Though the Doctor initially encouraged Ace not to call him the Professor, the CF Master of Time that in the beginning Ace calls the Doctor the Professor. He later confessed that he liked her calling him by the nickname. That's seen in audio, Thin Ice, one of the audios I heard.
Yeah.
He also told Bernie Summerfield that he loved chaos, big explosions, and rebellions. You see that in Love and War.
Yeah.
Described E-flat minor as his favorite musical key.
Mm-hmm.
Gave blue as his favorite color. And then said that his favorite ice cream was boysenberry.
Oh.
So that Ripple, and claimed having his haircut relaxed him more than anything.
Home comforts then.
Yes.
He also enjoyed playing nine-dimensional Scrabble, drinking lemonade, and doing interviews. There are some funny things about this Doctor in the mainly in the audios. You can find these things.
Mm-hmm.
There are also it's a very Doctor with very sides in that case. On dark, but also a clownish side.
Yeah. So in terms of audios, I mean, what have you heard, Charlotte? Have you heard any audios?
Not a lot of Sylvester.
Okay, right.
Because I tend to, like I said, I think I said this on Davidson. Like my audio doctors tend to be either Davidson or McGann.
Hmm. Yeah.
You do always give me homework. And I have enough homework already from other people, Daniel.
This Doctor could also be critical of human nature, stating that humans had the most amazing capacity for self-deception, matched only by their iniquity, and trying to destroy themselves. Also, that mentioned in Remains of the Daleks. There also, by the way, I mentioned a lot Remains of the Daleks because it's you can see really what this Doctor is in his diversity.
Yeah.
But that's the most of the case. With most of Dalek stories, you see that the Doctor is in an ultimate challenge, and so you can see all the things of this. It looks like the Daleks triggered all the things that the Doctor is. And also, you can also see that this in this story very strongly.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
I always see it as the Daleks always bring out the worst in the Doctor.
Yeah. You can see all the things of the Doctor. What is in the Doctor? You can see that all the bad things, all the good things. I agree. You can see there are some things trigger the Doctor, and there come the bad things. They come above in the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can see that also in the new very strongly by the ninth Doctor, Christopher Eccleston. You can see that very strongly.
Oh yeah, but I think they all but
all the Doctors, yeah.
Well, the Doctor kind of reminded the Doctor what he has to do, because the universe is it's not the place he wants it to be. It's a horrible place, and the Daleks are kind of the ultimate evil. And I think that's kind of a good Doctor, a good hero needs a good villain, and the Daleks is the one.
Mm-hmm.
No, I do kind of feel like maybe that's probably the weakness of McCoy's first season. He didn't really have that many good villains.
Yes, that's right. I was thinking about it the moment you say that.
So it's when the Daleks come along, that's when he ups his game.
Yeah. The combination Seventh Doctor and Master was not so very strong, I think. It was more in the Master worked, by the way, in the 70s the Master really worked, but in the 80s somehow
it was
less.
But I think the problem was Amy was either told or it was his idea, I don't know which way it fell, that the Master was a lot more pantomime.
Yeah.
Yes, I've listened to the number, yes. Daniel.
Yeah, and then, which is, like I said, it's sad that Amy only really got Survival to do a different Doctor. The Master, I can't speak tonight, to do a different Master, because you almost felt like he really relished that a lot of the pretense and the sort of, like I said, the almost pantomime-ness of his Master. Like, I can understand they wanted something different to the Delgado. But I think it's just that you have to. It's like you can have the Master be mad or a bit pantomimey, but there's a line, and if you go too much in those two directions, the threat just gets lost. I think with the Master.
Yeah, like I think there was actually an anecdote that's often told that during the filming of Planet of Fire, apparently Amy delivered this particular line from the Master quite kind of eloquently, quite kind of subtly, and there was a call from the gallery saying, "No, you got to go a bit overboard with it, go a bit kind of louder with it." And so it's almost like if he wanted to play it like the way he wanted to in Survival, he was always told, "No, you can't. We want you to ham it up."
Yeah, you could definitely tell watching him that he can do the ham, but it was forced on him. You could tell that a little bit watching.
Yeah, I mean, he is absolutely cold in Logopolis, isn't he?
Oh yeah, with Adric as well. What he's like willing to do to Adric.
Yeah. I mean, I think with Amy, a lot of the problem was the Master stories would seem to be an attempt to recapture lost glories, or even a belief that you could just have, if you had the Master in it, those lost glories, those past glories would just kind of come back instantly in the story, and it just didn't work that way.
Well, you say I think they're doing that with New Who for years, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like, it's a finale. Let's bung the Master in it again.
Pretty much, yes.
Oh, the Master's dead. Oh no, he's not. He's back alive somehow.
Yeah. Sorry?
Yes, where was I?
Well, you were talking about how this Doctor would defeat his enemies and sort of what his skills were.
Yes. Although he originally invited her to travel with him due to Fenric, the Doctor developed a paternal relationship with Ace, eventually coming to trust Ace with his life.
Yeah.
Ace, considering the Doctor to be her guru, believed that he had deepest, saddest eyes, and even told him that she loved him. However, after she found herself unable to deal with his growing emotional coldness, Ace walked out on the Doctor after he had arranged for the Doctor of the death of Jen Reed in the audio.
Is that Love and War? Or
Love and War. Yeah.
I've heard that one. Yeah.
So there are so many emotions in these relations. Oh, okay. I have a message on. Okay. Yeah. The Doctor harbored a strong hatred for the Daleks, refusing to believe that a single timeline existed where they were benevolent. As we've seen it in the ripple effect.
Which story was that? Sorry, which audio was that?
Ripple effect.
Oh, I've not heard that one.
Yeah.
I need to hear that one, I think.
Yeah, there's a prose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he also distrusted the Ice Warriors even after they renounced conflict. That's also a prose. So in his era on screen, he didn't meet the Ice Warriors, but also he had challenged them in other adventures. Ace had twice described the Doctor as an agent hippie, and once during the early travels in the greatest show in the galaxy, and again during the battle with the monk. There also was a conflict with the monk. Yeah, the most of the stories, most of the sources are most of the things and adventures are you can find in the audios.
Oh yeah, I remember the Ice Warrior story. I mean, it was I've forgotten the name of it, but it was one where there was this expedition to the Arctic, and they'd found these frozen kind of creatures, and the Doctor knows that they're not just Ice Warriors, they're basically the criminal remnants of the Ice Warrior race. They were sent there as prisoners, so they're not just Ice Warriors, they're criminal Ice Warriors by even their own race's standards. I remember that one, yeah.
Oh, I hear from a reliable source that Charlotte's favorite character is the Master. He's constantly bullying.
Teasing.
So I get him back on our streams.
Oh, that's teasing.
Just carry on, Daniel. Just carry on. I'll get you back on Friday.
Is there a mod who can block him? Or he's himself is a mod. He must block himself.
No, I'll just get him back on our actual live stream.
I'm looking forward to that.
So when you see Daniel on a blue eye, then
all right. No, I don't even have to do that. I can just get the chat to turn on him now. It's brilliant.
The monsters.
Yeah, I want to talk about we see the Seventh Doctor in the 1996 movie, Doctor Who the movie.
Oh yeah.
In the beginning, we see him in his TARDIS, relaxing in his chair, and we see also, what we don't know in the beginning, but when we see the movie, we see that he has the Master in the TARDIS, in his box.
There's that particular, because there's that line, isn't it? Because he's kind of picked up the remains, like all the Master is now is just goo, but the Doctor locks him away, and there's that line. Even in death, I couldn't trust him, so I locked him away, kind of thing.
But we see then that he is getting shot in a gang shootout in San Francisco.
Yeah, he's probably got the most undignified exit, hasn't he?
Yes. Have you seen the movie?
Oh yeah, and it's like you just think, oh, he's relaxing, he's retiring. He literally steps out of his TARDIS and gets shot to death, and it's just like, okay, that's a way for a Doctor to regenerate. And then even like when he's been shot, that's not the end of it. They try and operate on him. Yeah. And it literally comes across as torture, the way they film it and the way it looks on screen. It's like literally torture. And then
with all the needles.
Yeah, the needles, and he wakes up mid-operation and he's like screaming, and it's literally almost like something from a horror movie.
He is desperately trying to warn Grace not to operate on him.
Yeah, because his physiology is different, so basically their surgery will kill him.
And he is proclaiming that his need to stop the master, and after succumbing to sedation, and screaming in agony when their operation dealt fatal damage to him, and then he is.
See, the thing is, I used to defend that the way that they dispatched him. I thought, like, I used to say, well, isn't it kind of ironic that the doctor's on the doctor's visit to his favorite world, his favorite species, he gets shot by a bunch of criminals who don't even know who he is. But then I think, no, that's not really even important to the story. It doesn't play a thematic purpose. So it just
I think that's the problem. It just feels like they needed to get rid of him.
It's like,
we're in America, he'll get shot.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
They get shot.
Whereas all the other doctors, it's like, how did you regenerate? Oh, I literally sacrificed my life being poisoned to death for a companion I didn't even know that well, and I didn't even know if I was going to survive it. Or like Tom, where it's like I literally climbed a massive tower and dropped to my death. It's like all the other doctors have had quite heroic exits in varying degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And with Paul Sylvester, it's just like, no, I literally stepped out my TARDIS and just got shot.
Yeah.
By the way, the movie doesn't feel British or UK, more American, by the way.
Yeah, it's got that comic American feel.
You cannot feel the British.
See, for me, it felt more British than I was expecting it to. It wasn't, you know what I mean? But
I think that, like, Paul McGann brought that sense, but it was only Paul McGann. Everything else just for me felt like something straight out of an American comic book.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I mean. Talking about his habits and quirks.
Oh, sorry. Just one more thing about the TV movie. I think for me, it is probably the inverse of what we were talking about before in terms of mystery and mystique. It's like the TV movie, like, it leaves a lot of stuff unexplained. But in a really frustrating way. But it doesn't really leave you much to ponder. It was like, it just feels like you got the Doctor, the Master. It's just, then there's nothing more to it. So there's no imponderables, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
it's very much just here's your plot. This is what's happening. Go.
Yeah, because I mean, my first impression of the film, I liked it up until the ending, and then I was like, "What? It doesn't make sense." And then you pick at that doesn't make sense, then you pick at all the other problems with it. Anyway, that's my piece on the movie. So
yeah. Speaking with a Scottish accent. We can see that in Time and Randy. That was noted by Bernard Summerfield to be of the Islands. The Seventh Doctor occasionally rolled his R's. So, you notice that? That he used the R's in some way?
Sometimes he would snarl. Like that's
surrender.
Snarl.
Like in other lines he would snarl, and in others it was like he would roll the R to almost give himself a more grand sense of importance.
Yes. And they emphasized also his P's and L's. You can see that in the Paradise Towers and Delta and Benjamin. So he's what I earlier mentioned with his words. He announced some things and emphasized some letters in his words.
It's like, it felt like some script editor was like, what? Let's like draw this out. Let's give them the gods of Ragnarok to face off against.
Yeah,
Ragnarok.
But he could also, when necessary, adopted other accents, though.
Now this is interesting because it didn't Russell hint at, in some ways, that sometimes the Doctor will imprint on a companion and he'll maybe sometimes pick up like in terms of the accent, sometimes he'll pick up like he hinted that maybe Tennant's accent was Cockney because he knew Rose and Rose was Cockney. See,
I saw that as more as Russell hinted that because maybe the Doctor started to have feelings in Eccleston's incarnation, he purposely regenerated into a young, handsome Doctor to suit Rose. That's the one I heard more than the accent.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But then I'm trying to think, but then because I'm also trying to think with Tennant when they did Tooth and Claw, and he used, obviously in that episode it made sense, he was Scottish for half of it, and that's Tennant's actual voice, and he purposely used Jamie's name, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
So I don't know, maybe that was a hint from Russell that certain companions, if they're quite favoured, might have an influence down the road, but I don't know if it's been with accents. But I'm trying to think. He did reference Jamie.
Yeah. You just reminded me of the bit where Rose tries to join in and goes, "Oh, aye," as the doctor
God, yeah.
And he goes, "No, don't do that." So sorry,
Ever.
just don't. Yeah.
Okay. The Doctor was fond of using the term grubby when explaining his mission to keep an artifact away from his adversaries, such as when keeping the hand of Omega. And also in Remains of the Daleks, I used that story a lot.
Yeah.
I think is that the most significant. Also, the Doctor would often raise his head when he greets new people. You can see that in Paradise Towers, The Greatest Show. Almost every story, he lifts up, raises his head, and greets people. And
even in mid-battle in Survival, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
There's massive battles going on, and there's the Doctor just going hello, hello, like with his hat, like 3 or 4 times in a row. It's quite funny.
Yeah.
And he always has his umbrella with that question mark on it. And there's also the question marks on his, I think, question marks on his sleeve, or.
Oh no, it's the jumper, isn't it? Isn't that question mark?
The jumper.
Yeah. But because his clothes changed during his tenure, during his era, because in my avatar you can see a light coat or a
light coat,
more dark coat.
Well, they did that on purpose, didn't they? Andrew has spoken. I think both Sylvester that they want, because he was going darker, they wanted the darker coat to sort of signify that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So, also some skills of this Doctor. Actually, we mentioned a few of them. Because his choice of words is one of his weapons. He can easily manipulate and choose direction.
Yeah.
The decision of choosing what his enemy will do. He can direct that in some way. Despite his stature, the Doctor was capable of both directly and indirectly taking control of situations involving strangers, using his great intelligence to assess and direct events. By the Happiness Patrol, we can see that. That he used tricks to sort things out, to help himself in things. While loaded violence, the Doctor also showed a skill at unarmed combat, being able to briefly overpower a judo trained Mel in Time and Rani. And the cheetah virus infected Master.
Oh yeah. So you said in Time and Rani you overpowered someone. Who was it? In Time and Rani, he overpowered someone. Did you say?
Yeah, Mel.
Oh yeah, because there was that scene where
yes,
because oh god, it's ridiculous. Like this is this is the iceberg of how ridiculous the story is. Basically, the Rani disguises herself as Mel, and she drugs the Doctor, and because he's like quite queasy after his regeneration anyway, she fools him into thinking that she's the Rani, she's Mel, and that then like when Mel turns up, he says, that's the Rani disguised as Mel. It's like, and then so basically you got this stupid fight where the Doctor thinks the Mel is the Rani disguised as Mel, and Mel thinks that he's an imposter because she's not seen the new Doctor yet. She was expected to see, Colin's Doctor to still be with us, and so they have this bit of a fight for overpowering each other, and I think she gets, it's ridiculous. It's just they have this kind of, it's like watching two kittens fight, basically.
Well, at least he didn't throttle her.
Yeah, it was. They went to the other extreme.
Yeah, at least they learned their lesson.
Yeah. True.
We see also tricks of the Doctor as a physical performer in The Greatest Show of the Galaxy.
Yeah,
there's some magic tricks. So not only in words, but also in really tricks, literal.
Yeah, because
So he could juggle with 5 balls with his feet, and
he does the straitjacket thing as well. He ties himself up upside down and has to get out of his own straitjacket. And
yes,
he has the thing where he produces eggs out of his mouth, and he kind of puts them in the lid, and then a chicken emerges or something, and it's like.
Well, yeah, that was them playing on Sylvester's sort of. That was what he was known for, wasn't it, at that time period?
Yeah.
Yes.
The sort of slapstick, the sort of jokes. So they sort of I suppose you can't blame them totally, because they were basically doing what was known for Sylvester at that point.
Yeah.
Like, is it also that scene in the Happiness Patrol? I think when he's playing when the man is playing his harmonica or something, and he plays with his spoons.
Yeah, he's always playing.
And his jacket on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You want to. Yeah. Also, and other doctors also could read minds. And yes.
Oh yeah. Which
in
episode?
War.
Oh yes,
yeah. Also, and he can also erase memories. And I was surprised about that, but I read that the Doctor can erase memories. For in no future he can. That's the source of that, and he could also calm a person by touching his and sleep by touching their forehead.
Yeah, that was in Survival.
Yeah. Also, is there some? All the doctors have that telepathic, some way telepathic or skills.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We come now to the appearance of this Doctor. He was a short man. Sylvester McCoy is not so tall. He's a short man, one of the shortest, I think. He was initially appeared to be in his mid-40s. In the time he was mid-40, I think. In Time in the Rani.
Mm-hmm.
He looked good then if he was in his mid-40s.
Yeah.
He looks younger than that on screen.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. And by the end of his life, however, the Doctor was aged significantly in a movie. You can see that he is really getting old. Mm-hmm. More a belly, I think. Yeah. His clothing, we talked about the clothing. The first outfit was with more light coat, white coat, or broken white coat, and the other was when he was darker, he became chocolate brown jacket.
Yeah,
and he changed his handkerchief, and then occasionally would remove his pullover also. There were a 10 brown duffel coat. So I want to give some ratings for episodes and to ask give some your favorite episodes, stories of this Doctor.
Mm-hmm. Charlotte, do you want to go first or?
Yeah, no, I'm just going through them quickly in my head. Like I said, I quite like Battlefield because I like Arthur stuff anyway. That's a bit of my weak spot when it comes to history. I love that time period, and I actually I like that they did something different with the Arthur legend. That they didn't just do the same thing that we've seen so many times, and they actually played with it, but kept the core of it the same, really. And I like sort of the unit. I like how unit's done in that story as well.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, I like that they don't directly tell you that he's Merlin. It's just hinted at.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to go through them.
I'll mention a few.
Yeah, that might help. So I'm a bit spotty when it comes to Sylvester.
Yeah, like I mean, for me, the two favorites are Remembrance of the Daleks, which I watched that when I was 11. It came in this Dalek tin. It was released in this Dalek tin, and that was my Christmas. It's one of my favorite Christmases. Just waking up and watching that, and watching him before he kind of face off against the Dalek. It was just heaven. That one. Greatest Show in the Galaxy is another favorite. I really enjoyed that one. Yeah.
Survival is another one. I quite like Survival. Like I said, I quite like Ainley, that version. I think the whole theme of animals and sort of fighting that natural instinct is quite well done.
Yeah.
Barring obviously the terrible effects of those cheetah people, but I think the story does it quite good, that theme, and I like the sort of Ace having to fight it and sort of choose the Doctor almost at the end. I like that.
Yeah, it's quite a poignant ending. You mean, like, because she's saying like I felt I could run forever, and
yeah, and probably then Fenric. If I were to choose three, then those probably be the three I'd choose because I like the sort of I like the monsters and the sort of horror themes of that one, and
it definitely has an atmosphere, doesn't it?
Yeah. And the fact that the Doctor is sort of very shady in that episode.
Yeah, and I mean, last time I watched that, I was like watching the beginning. I thought, you know what? It's like this was the second to last story they transmitted. It feels like watching. I thought, it feels like the show's got 10 more years life left in it, not just 3 weeks. But yeah, went the way it did.
Honestly, I think they wanted to do it during Colin's run, but JMT just somehow managed to hoodwink them.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. That's true. Yeah.
You mean John Nathan Turner?
Yeah.
Basically, the Grade was out to cancel the show, and JT had certain contacts in the tabloids and obviously in the fan press. He knew Ian Levine, and he got this. He got the kind of enough of a tabloid outrage to embarrass the BBC into keeping the show going just a bit longer.
Yeah, so but you could tell during Colin's run they really wanted the show gone. But like I said, he almost hoodwinked them into having another Doctor and a couple more series.
Yeah.
I have a top 5.
Oh, cool.
Go for 5. Number 5 is Remembrance of the Daleks.
Mm-hmm.
Number 4, The Greatest Show in the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Number 3 is Curse of Fenric.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 is Survival.
Mm-hmm.
And number 1 is
Ghostlight.
Ghostlight, yeah. Ghostlight is my favorite.
Yes.
He wears that brown coat, by the way, in that story, and the question marks on his. We call it yellow, green, and yellow and green. What do you call it? Yeah.
I think one day I'll understand that story.
Yeah.
So I understand it a bit better because I had the Rabbi on that stream when we were all watching it the first time, and he did a really good explanation of it. But I was like, I sort of understand this now. I'm still a bit confused.
Yeah.
So,
I actually didn't mention some of my audios that I really liked.
yeah.
I really like a bit of a guilty pleasure, but there's a Seventh Doctor Mel story called Bang Bang a Boom, which is about this galactic Eurovision. It's pure farce, but I love it. It's a fun story. And then there's that one's by Gareth Roberts and Clayton Hickman. And then there's the Client Trilogy I really enjoyed. Like that's one of my favorites. It's this 3-part, like Colditz is the first story. It's like, and then like the then they do this trilogy. It's 1,000 Tiny Wings, Survival of the Fittest, and Architects of History. And that was like, I listened to them and I was like, wow, this is really, really rich stuff, kind of thing. I think it's probably I'd say it's of McCoy's audio stories. It's my favorites. And also, Daniel mentioned a Dalek story he did called "We Are the Daleks," which is this 1980s style story. It's about this computer game that involves the Daleks, and I listened to that a while ago. I did enjoy that one. I'd rate that one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I want to talk about short about the Cartmel master plan.
Oh yes, yeah.
Season 25-26 had broad hints that the Doctor was not simply a Time Lord, as previously shown and stated. The plan was that this overarching plot, conceived by script editor Andrew Cartmel and referred to by fans as the Cartmel master plan, was designed to restore an element of mystery in the Doctor and his true nature, as in the stories of the first and second incarnations. And although the cancellation of the series at the end of Season 26 prevented further on-screen exploration of this arc, it was later given full reign in 13 New Adventures and novel series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think because I think like there's a deleted scene in Remembrance of the Daleks where during the confrontation with Davros, where Davros says, in the end, you are merely just another Time Lord, and the Doctor kind of says, "Oh, Davros, I am far more than just another Time Lord," and that's the first hint that there's more to the Doctor. Mm-hmm. And then there's, I think actually it was, I think Mark Platt had a kind of an idea for a story called Lung Barrow, which was, I don't think it was quite in keeping with the Cartmel Master Plan, but it would have explained a lot if they'd included it, because that was the one where you got we explained that the Doctor had this previous cycle of life, but in this incarnation called the Other, who was part of the founding of Time Lord Society. And I think it was kind of meant to hint of who the other faces were in the mind battle with Morbius in Brain of Morbius. And also it was, in a way, it kind of made sense that this Doctor kind of knows a lot more about Time Lord history and Time Lord, like he's able to manipulate Time Lord weapons, like the Hand of Omega and the Nemesis statue. But JNT, I think, said it revealed too much, and so basically sent it back and said, and they gave him Ghostlight. But eventually, when they were doing the novels, they did Lung Barrow in the end as a novel.
Yes, that's right.
And now a lot of fans aren't so much keen on the idea of canonizing Lung Barrow, but I'd rather have it in the canon than what Chibnall wrote.
Yeah, but we don't even know what he's doing yet, mate. Let's just see what mess we end up with.
Well, you can. I'm not watching anymore after last night.
Oh wow! Okay, we'll talk about that off stream.
Okay. All right.
But what the case is, there is a yes. But you also mentioned the Other.
Oh yeah.
The plan of this was to reveal that the Doctor was some form of reincarnation of the Other. There's a mysterious figure from Gallifrey's past who helped form the Time Lord Society and perfect the time travel technology of the Time Lords. So yeah, there can be some connection in the new series, in the current series, but we don't know. It's speculation. But
you're not actually saying the Doctor, the character we've been following for 50 plus years. That sort of line of doctors or that life we followed is the other. You were saying reincarnation, which if you understand reincarnation, it is a new life form. It's just a life form that doesn't just have a beginning, end, and middle, and then whatever you believe in happens as your end point. It just means that you basically start again from point zero.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually, from what I understand, because that is my understanding of Longbarrow, it is really, I understand it's why some fans hate it, but like I said, as long as, if my understanding is correct, that the Doctor is still the Doctor from William Hartnell to that point, Sylvester. It's just in another life they had this title, they had this story, and now it's the memories are starting to almost bleed through in Sylvester's Doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I would prefer that we didn't know it, but if you want to do an origin, if you want to do a sort of this is what the Doctor was before the television type of thing, I would take that. Is sort of the way I'd phrase it, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, if I was going to, if I was showrunner, I would probably film Longbarrow, and that would overrule what we've got now, hopefully. I think the idea was meant to be the other, because I think the idea in the book was that Time Lords are loomed. They're created in these kind of looms, and they're basically the other is basically almost recycled as the Doctor, a bit like the Matrix in a way.
I want to explain that. The other, by the way, was one of the original founders of Time Lord Society, along with Rassilon and Omega, by the way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the other of the origin, by the way, of the other remained a mystery for later Time Lords. So there is some mysterious connection, the other with the Doctor.
Yeah, am I right that the first time the other is mentioned is actually in the novelization of Remembrance of the Daleks? Because the thing is, they did this novelization of Remembrance, and it explored a lot more of the backstory. Like, it's a great novelization. Like, it's got there's flashbacks to the beginning of Time Lord Society, and there's even a flashback to Davros when he was first hit by the shell, and there's a moment where he contemplates killing himself, and then there's basically chooses the other path, which is, I'll lead your people to victory.
Yeah.
And there's also a really cool description of the Dalek battles and the inner workings of the special weapons Dalek. There's this great line where it basically blows up a bunch of renegade Daleks. May their shells be blighted. And it says, after it blows them up, like it's thinking triumphantly, that is why they call me the Abomination. So I think in the novelization was the first time the name The Other was mentioned, and that came in 1990, and then the Virgin novels came out in 1991, and that's when I suppose that's when they went further with it, and eventually when the line ended, that it ended with Longbarrow.
Yeah, what I heard, it was that according to some accounts, the Other was reincarnated via the loom of the House of Longbarrow to become a Doctor.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
That's the whole in a nutshell.
Yeah. Bear in mind, I've not read the book. I've only seen videos on it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's very interesting. But that was one of the plans of in the time of Sylvester. But it is not it's not really. We didn't see that on screen. No, that's why the Sylvester era is most unexplained era of the classic Who. That's one of the characteristics of this era of Sylvester, the Seventh Doctor.
Yeah.
At the same time, this Doctor had some good stories, and we still have Sylvester McCoy with us.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
very. He's still some lunatic.
Oh, it'll be a dark day when we lose him because, like you said, like I love seeing him at like watching videos of him at conventions.
Yeah.
He's just so witty and he's so fun.
Yes.
But for anything, relatively, he'll like if a fan says, "Can you do this or can you do this?" If it's not like something that he's going to regret, he'll do it basically.
Yeah.
So
I adore. A fan asked him to read the Pandorica speech that Matt did, and his reading is amazing.
Yeah.
Because obviously he's fully diving into that darkness that he had near the end of his run, and I think the way he says the last two lines of like let somebody else have a try, like it's almost evil the way he says that line. Like if you didn't know that was a doctor, you could have that as a villain line.
Yes.
Very easily, and I adore him doing that speech.
Okay, the card mail. That was the card mail.
Oh, by the way, note on the novel on the New Adventures. When I was 11, we got some W.H. Smith book tokens from our school, and I went to a quite Christian school. And when I told my teacher I was going to get some Doctor Who books, she was like, "Oh, so you're into a really wholesome thing, like this really wholesome show about morals and like because she probably was thinking of the old series. So
very old at that point.
Yeah, she's probably thinking like the demons and the Pertwee era.
Yeah, the sort of the bit more twee like eras.
Yeah, so you probably wouldn't know that like I was opening like the Book of Transit, and basically it's got like prostitution, F words, the P word, the Doctor getting drunk and vomiting, and it's just like, oh yeah, it's like she probably thought it was more wholesome than it was.
Yeah, God love her.
I still haven't finished Transit, I couldn't make sense of it then. I still can't. Anyway, that's my piece on the novels. Anyway.
Yes. I'm about to rounding it off.
All right. Okay.
But because I think we have discussed the most important things of this Doctor.
Here's an interesting one. Is there any? Yeah. Can we look back on previous Doctors and see precedents for McCoy?
I don't.
Well, the manipulative, you can see that not as much, but a little bit in the first and second Doctor.
Yes, yeah. Like in the Five Doctors, like when the first Doctor tricks Baruza, that is a very much a proto McCoy moment, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like like I said, I almost see sort of you take that manipulative side of the first and second, but they had more morals, or they had a bit more. Maybe morals is not the right word. Like they would manipulate, but not to the extent McCoy would.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. In comparison to the other Doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then some of the slapsticky, I suppose, Tom, you can see a bit of that in Tom.
Yes.
But not, like I said, I think McCoy's just everything's dialed up to 10. That you've probably seen it in a few other Doctors.
So, I mean, would you say then that, like, there was a hint that in the first and second Doctor, the Doctor could do it, but it's only with McCoy you see him really having the elaborate plans to do it. Like he's mulled over what he's going to do in future.
I think it's not the elaborate plan. I think it's having almost the goal to do it. Do you know, like I don't think backbone because that's not right again. But it's like something that would be shocking to other Doctors. McCoy's Doctor wouldn't think would be shocking. So it's like having that almost that, like I said.
Boldness.
Boldness. Oh, maybe that's the good word for it. Like the boldness to go through with something that maybe the first Doctor might have thought of, but they never would do it.
It's like he gambles a lot more, doesn't he? It's like he's a big gambles. There's actually like there's a line in the novelization of Remembrance where when he's telling the the Dalek Supreme, the Black Dalek at the end, like why its missions failed. There's actually a line which describes what he's thinking. He's saying, if you're going to make a lie, if you're going to tell a lie, make it a big one. And that's when he tells the Dalek that it's finished, basically.
I don't further. No.
I think we've covered everything.
Yeah, covered everything.
Yeah,
wait.
2 hours.
Oh wait, we haven't really covered Did we discuss the controversy of him destroying Skaro?
Was there controversy about that?
For some fans, there was. Not for me, there wasn't.
I'm saying this as just. I can't see why fans would have an issue with him destroying Skaro.
Nah, me neither. It was it was clear even in Resurrection of the Daleks and Destiny of the Daleks, the Doctor said, "Look, I regret passing up the chance to finish the Daleks. I'm going to correct that mistake." And
at that point, it would just be Skaro, as in just Daleks everywhere, wouldn't it? There wouldn't be many human or not human. What were they?
Thals.
There wouldn't be many Thals or Khalids or sort of anything of what was once innocent left. Do you think?
No, there was like in Destiny of the Daleks, the Doctor returns to Skaro, and there are no Thals there. It's like the Daleks have kind of imported slave labor from other worlds, and I think they wouldn't be doing that if there were Thals on the world. I maybe just like I said, I'm like you. I just can't see why that would cause an issue, especially at that point in the Dalek sort of timeline. I think some fans can be a bit sanctimonious, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. They had more an ethical nature, whereas McCoy was more ruthless.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, in comparison to the other previous Doctors. Yeah. Yes, that's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Are there other things to discuss for this Doctor?
No, I think we've done most of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, thank you for this discussion. Next week, for having.
Yeah, thank you for letting us jump on.
Yeah. Next week I will do a combination 8 Doctor, War Doctor.
Oh, cool.
That's because I already jumped in the stuff, and I think 8 Doctor it's too short for one stream.
Yeah.
So I can do two Doctors in one.
Yeah, that would work.
And then a week after that, we do Christopher Eccleston.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can do also other variations of the Doctor, but I think it would be too much. I think to discuss the Villiard and all the things. You can easily go to speculations about that.
We did cover that in when we talked about Colin Baker.
Yes,
we did talk about the Villiard.
And we already talked about the other, so we discussed it also the other, and we have also the Watcher. You can discuss about that, but we don't know much things about that. And also the Morbius case, and the Timeless Child. We don't know who the fugitive Doctor is. You can do that stream, but it would be a stream with speculations.
Yeah, it would a lot.
I want to discuss the personality, not speculations.
We'll discuss that with Jodie, I think. When we do.
I think it's like Peter Reed said, I do the 8 Doctor and War Doctor, and I think that you can do it in one stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my plan. And
good.
Agree?
Good plan.
No, it's fun.
Yeah. So next week we will be here in the same time, in the same place.
Charlotte, what about you? What's ahead for you?
Well, I should be able to be here next Monday.
No. I mean, if you've got anything to plug, I mean.
Oh yes, I do actually. Me, Dan, and Carl. I can't think of his surname right now, which is terrible. But basically, for Type 40 podcast, his recorded version, not the live video, will be Thursday. Tomorrow, he just said on the Facebook group that he should be dropping our review of chapter 1, as we're now calling it, of Flux. So look out for that tomorrow.
Will do. All right, cool.
Is there even someone who have a link to that?
He's not dropped it yet. I just saw he said on.
Okay, so Daniel is also Scottish Jefferson and Queen Charlotte has also a channel with the Line of Duty series.
Yes, we did.
Also enjoy that.
Yeah, so we're carrying on. We've got two more. Yeah, 2 more episodes of series 3, and then we're going on a break.
When are those episodes? Well, when are those episodes?
Friday this week, and then because Daniel's got his football next week on Saturday, we're doing it on Tuesday.
Cool.
The last episode 6 should be on Tuesday.
That is the 16th November.
Think so, yeah. I'm
16th
terrible with
November.
dates. So you got 2 more. You got this week and next week, and then we're going on a break.
Cool.
Yes, good.
Moving to that.
Also, I mentioned in the beginning of stream, recommended the Dutch WHOVIAN community. I've put some links on the info page of my channel. See Discord link and a Facebook group link, website link.
You've also got Charlotte, you've also got something on the TIJD Zone watch-alongs, or is it?
Oh yeah. Well, I do on Saturday's Classic, so which is we talk about Classic now. If you want to hear, a lot of the time my first reactions watching Classic, and then on Sunday, obviously not straight after it's aired on Sunday, Jodie's episodes. I'm part of the reviews on Sunday for Flux on the TARDIS Zone.
So we can find you every evening, night.
Some weeks it feels like that, yeah.
I've got paid for it. You all could become a millionaire.
The people wouldn't have me on then.
So how are you enjoying the new series so far?
Do we want to get into that now on stream?
After the stream, yes.
Okay,
I think after the stream.
All right, okay. This is the clean version.
Yes.
Okay. I want to thank the panel. I want to thank the people in the chats. And I want to wish everyone a nice week. And we see you next week on Monday. I've also put Doctor Who Flux stream. I did it yesterday, mainly about the first episode. There was some explanation and rating of the story, so you can also find it. Okay, for now, have a nice week, and we see you.
Have a good one, everybody.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Bye.